As a business owner, choosing the right location for your EV chargers will make or break if they're successful or not. The right location can be the difference between making steady profits and having a really long return on investment. Today, I'll give you the top 5 things that make for a perfect spot. So when it comes time to start your search, you'll know exactly what to look out for. And stick around for the last 2 points because they're the most important tips from my experience and will save you the most amount of money. All right, let's do it. Okay, first, let's talk about why location is such a big deal. Your location affects utilization, which is the biggest factor that impacts return on investment. Utilization, meaning the more those chargers are used and plugged into cars, the faster you'll break even and start making profits. Now that we know why location matters, let's dive in on how to choose the best spots. And here are the 5 factors to keep an eye out for. So, what are the things we want to look out for to make sure we get a good ROI? And the first one is traffic and visibility. If you place a charger in the middle of nowhere, then nobody will be around to visit. It's best to look for high traffic areas like shopping malls, gas stations, businesses, or busy intersections. Even better, make sure that your chargers are visible from the road to attract people that are driving by. The next one is proximity to other things. When people are charging, they'll usually want to walk somewhere close by and spend their time doing something useful. Drivers usually spend 20 to 40 minutes charging their cars, so locations near restaurants, coffee shops, or stores will keep them engaged and happy. That being said, you don't want it to be too convenient and too quick, though. You want them sticking around for as long as possible. Maybe even near a movie theater, that could be a great choice. And them being able to walk to these locations is key. Walkability is a huge component. And the third factor to look out for is accessibility. Right now, this isn't such a big deal because there aren't that many chargers out there and the demand is pretty high. So when you find one, you just use it. Your EV charging site should be easy to enter and exit with clear signage to guide drivers. Stay away from locations with tight spaces for parking or awkward setups. Also, one of the benefits to driving an electric car is access to great parking spots. So, you may want to consider placing the chargers in the best parking spots as an added incentive to come and charge at your location. Okay, the fourth one is a big one and it's power. And this is important because it will save you so much money on the upfront costs of the project. This is something I learned through countless site visits, and it all has to do with the power available in the building. Some locations, some buildings have more power than others, so make sure that before you decide on a location, you have an electrician stop by to take a look at the electrical room to determine how much power is available on site. You'll want these chargers to be as fast as possible for many reasons, and the last thing you want is to have to pay for an electrical service upgrade to get adequate power for the chargers because this will be very expensive and will absolutely kill your return on investment. You also want fast chargers because it will keep customers coming back and you'll most likely be billing by the kilowatt. So the faster your chargers are, the more money you could potentially make. Again, this is such a big deal. So you may think that you found the perfect spot and it checks a lot of the boxes, but then you realize that there's not a whole lot of power available on site, then run. It's not worth it. And the last one, the fifth one, is look for a low install cost. Now, this might sound obvious, but this is something that I've learned through, again, so many site visits. The cost of install can swing drastically from project to project. It's wild how much variance there is, and if you choose a location with an expensive install, this will be another thing that will drive your return on investment through the roof. I've done so many site visits now that I can just eyeball how expensive the install will be at a location. And it usually boils down to 2 main factors. And the first one is how the chargers are mounted. And the second is how far away the electrical room is from the chargers. So when it comes to mounting the chargers, there's really 2 main options. The first one is wall mounted and the second is pedestal mounted. So you want to try and have your chargers wall mounted. This will be much cheaper than if they're pedestal mounted and you have to dig up all the concrete and run the wires underground. It will be like 10 times the price. The second is to try and have the chargers as close to the electrical room as possible. The further away means having to run longer conduit to reach the electrical room, which also means longer hours of install, and this will drastically increase the install costs. A last little tip here is to think about long term growth. If you're only thinking about installing one charger, I may want to gently lean you towards two. Two chargers is usually the best bet for really any location, and it's not like the cost will double from one to two. It will probably only increase by like 25%. That being said, if you're a bigger location and you're anticipating more growth, then you could always go with maybe four or six or even eight chargers for down the road. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you're wondering who I am, my name's Trevor, and I helped launch two successful EV charging startups. And now I make videos on how it works. And I'd love if you were to subscribe to the channel and keep following the journey. Thanks so much for checking in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.